No, I can't do that one. Shit. Let's do this one. Yeah, let's do a fun one.
Professor Wolff, the famous economist.
All right, so, economic time, the election tomorrow, and let's just have some fucking fun with this one. We're gonna actually talk about how. Let's dispel a myth right now. And my fucking nose is starting to get congested. The economy is not fucking growing. The stock market is. And this is a problem that we need to stop with this bullshit. The economy is fucking stagnated. People on Wall Street are making a shit ton of money. However, middle class, working class, we are getting strangled. We're getting fucking strangled because motherfuckers are going by. Oh, the Dow Jones or the Nasdaq average is fucking hitting record highs. We need a reset to the motherfucking system. We do. We need it where workers have more rights. We need it where motherfucking companies stop screwing people from either their customers and their workers. Because if they don't, pitchforks. I know you're trying to say like, no, they're going to have to change. No. Pitchforks. Oh, well, we'll wait to see who's the president and then maybe he can change. No. We have to do it ourselves. We have to come together as workers, customers, fucking stakeholders who actually matter in how money is spent. I think it's fucking funny that Jim Sterling just did a fucking video today talking about how even in fucking video games, I am literally playing Brawlhalla where let's look at something. Let's look at something. These motherfuckers, they have all of this shit. And let me just pull this up. Turn that shit off. They are marketing, cross-marketing with all these different companies. All these different companies. Ooh, let's go to the store. Let's see. Lara Croft. Tomb Raider. I have to spend real world money to advertise a Lara Croft skin. What's some of the other ones? Taunts and chess and legends. This is a cross promotion. I shouldn't have to pay extra money to be a fucking walking or jumping billboard for these cross promotional motherfuckers. The economy is not fucking growing. It's just that people are making wealth in some innovative ways, but they're innovating on how much they're screwing people. So, with me taking off the headphones and me explaining this bullshit, let's listen to a Marxist professor, Professor Richard Wolff, talk about what's going on. Take it away, Professor. Yeah, microtransactions. No. What is it? EA doesn't call them microtransactions. They call them surprise mechanics.
Professor Wolff, the famous economist, drops by today to talk about the scam of Trump's low unemployment rate. It's fascinating. And we get into a few other areas that I think you'll find interesting, too. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. On the line with us is our old friend, I almost called him a congressman. Professor Richard Wolff. We just had a congressman on. I'm sorry. Professor Wolff is is an economist. He's the co-founder of Democracy at Work. Democracyatwork.info is the website. He's the author of numerous books, including Understanding Marxism, his latest Understanding Socialism, rdwolf.com, and democracyatwork.info, his websites, and you can tweet him at Prof. Wolff, and there's 2 F's in Wolff. Professor, welcome back.
Thank you, Tom. Glad to be here.
So I shared with you a kind of eccentric newsletter I get.
By the way, I am going to start doing more economic updates. I just haven't been doing them as frequently because they come out on Monday, and usually by Saturday's time, they're pretty. Not that they're old, because you can always find value in them, but it's just like it's hard for me to kind of go back to them, especially when I know another one that's coming out in a few days. But let's continue.
I subscribe to this investment newsletter called Aiden Forecast, and they've got a guy who does a daily little rant. And he was talking about how, in his opinion, and his opinion tends to be a little on the right, but in any case, Chuck was writing about how he thinks that GDP and unemployment, that the economy, that the numbers that are being cited by the Trump administration do not reflect the reality of the economy, first of all. And secondly, that they might even actually be cooking the books beyond the extreme to which the books are normally cooked. Bernie Sanders has been talking about this for years, that we're using the wrong measure of unemployment, we're using the wrong measures for inflation and things like that. What are your thoughts on all this?
All right, so that's actually it's worrying. It's worrying that you actually get conservative, Republican-ass motherfuckers, economists, are actually saying, like, no, this shit is fucked up. Like, we need to actually address this problem that we're actually seeing. And, like, it's actually becoming more and more apparent that we're in the start of another fucking recession. And it's just like, because of the tax cuts and all the government spending that's making up for the deficit, we are actually in the start, if not one of the bad parts of another recession. And economists are even saying, like, no, we need to fucking do something about it. Corporate debt is higher than it's ever, as high as it has been back in the fucking 2008, and that shit isn't good. Like, you are literally seeing people, companies leverage, and if you don't know what leverage actually means, it simply means the amount of money that they have versus the amount of debt that they have on hand, the amount of money that they have on hand versus the amount of debt that they have is out of whack. Yeah, Bernie just actually said, like, he was like, the system is bullshit. Like, for real. Like, that's a fucked up thing. But all right, let's continue.
It is. You're quite right. It is an old debate. Economists have been, from the right and the left, I might say, have been skeptical about the statistics, both on theoretical grounds, but also on the grounds that political interference by the people who sit on top of the government pyramid to try to get reelected by cooking the books is fairly obvious. Some of that is going on most of the time. It's very hard to know exactly how much or how big of an impact it has. Having said all of that, one of the points that Aiden makes that is very valid is a very simple idea. If you're going to get record levels of unemployment low, that is, you're giving large numbers of people some sort of job.
Okay, so this is what, I don't know if he's going to make this point, but with such low unemployment, for the people who are looking for a job, mind you, the unemployment number is so low because so many people have checked out of the job market. then you get a race to the fucking bottom where people are willing to accept anything in order to make sure that they have enough to fucking eat, live, and shit in a place where it's enclosed with 4 fucking walls and a ceiling. But let's see what Professor Wolff actually says.
Then it is likely that you're going to have to see a kind of extraordinary rate of economic growth, because unless the economy is growing pretty heftily, it's not going to be able to absorb simply the new people, the teenagers growing up and entering the labor force as they become adults. If you're going to keep the people who are working, and accommodate the new entrants to the labor force, well, you have to be growing at a certain rate. The actual GDP...
Yeah, for real, like, water is wet.
Growth in this country, which is itself a debatable measurement, hasn't been growing very quickly. President Trump promised he would make it do that, but that promise, like so many others, hasn't worked out. He promised with the tax cut in December of 2017 that it would really solve the problem of economic growth. He used numbers like 3 to 5%, which for the United States would be stunning achievement. He didn't get that achievement. He didn't get anywhere near it. Our basic growth rate over recent years hasn't changed under Mr. Trump and is in the middle between 2 and 3%. I mean,
you know what's funny is the fact that Trump came in as a populist saying he's going to fix the fucking system. And he made it fucking... Okay, we're talking about this. Let's continue.
To give you an idea of what that means, in China, which has the worst economic growth rate in 25 years, this year they're getting 6.5%, which is 2 to 3 times what we get. So it's very hard to account for low unemployment numbers, record lows, that Mr. Trump boasts about, when you don't have the economic growth that normally would be necessary. And Mr. Trump never even acknowledges this contradiction, let alone offers an explanation. So the letter you sent me is quite correct in saying, wait a minute, at the very least, you have to account for this weird result.
All right, so he can be a little bit long-winded, but we're actually going to talk about something. China's economic growth is literally, when it was so high and so in demand, it was because they was like, we just spend money. Like, literally, they just said, we're just spending money. That hospital that they built in such a short amount of time, they was like, we're going to pay for it through government debt. And fuck you if you want to call us on it. And they just built that fucking hospital inside of like a month. I think it was less, but I don't want to seem like I'm fucking, selling them too fucking high. And it's just like, we can't have that type of growth because we don't have the physical growth of our infrastructure unless we want to fucking fix it. But that's a different story. Yeah, I love Richard Wolff. Let's continue.
Rather than pretending it isn't there.
Could it be that you've got more people working part-time jobs, fewer people working full-time jobs, and those people are all being counted as employed?
Yes, although my guess would be, since there are some numbers about part-timers and things like that, I would guess it's something else. And this is troubling, to say the least.
Okay, so, again, I have a cursory study of this shit. The reason why we see the unemployment numbers so low, one, he's gonna probably say it, and I'm just probably beating him to the punch. People are having multiple full-time or full-time-like jobs, so that's what's being counted. Also, people are dropping out of the fucking workforce because they don't have a way of supporting themselves on the fucking money that they may get from a 40-hour per week job. I'm sorry, it's like, shit, if I could, I'm trying to drop out of the workforce because I'm trying to get a YouTube/art career. Yay me. But let's continue.
what we've seen, not just over the last 10 years where it's been bad, but over the last 25, is the end of good jobs for millions and millions of Americans. Jobs that pay well, jobs where the real wage goes up each year, acknowledging that you're better at your job this year than you were last year, et cetera, et cetera. We have seen the benefits that go with jobs being cut, particularly pensions, but others as well. And finally, we've seen the loss of secure jobs and the rise of insecure jobs, usually covered with euphemisms like the sharing economy or the gig economy, anything other than facing what it is, which is insecure jobs.
Exactly.
Well, the end result of all of that, especially after the crash of 2008, when millions lost their jobs, was that working people have lost their savings if they had any, can't go to their friends and relatives for more help because they've already been doing that. So here's what they have to do. They basically have to go to work somewhere for virtually anything, which is why we have so many part-time or poorly paid jobs, even if they're full-time, why we have a movement for $15 minimum, which doesn't get you much beyond the poverty line anyway, and millions don't even have that.
So this is actually funny, and this is the point that I want to make before it fucking escapes me. The fact that it is a race to the fucking bottom. That people are trying to take any job that they can to fucking make it. And I just lost my fucking train of thought. And, like, you don't see real wage increase. You see, and that's the thing. It's funny because Uber really doesn't have too many employees. They have employees in their corporate office and shit like that. But they have contractors because people are being so fucking flexible with their schedule. They're being flexible with having a protection that you would have for working a real fucking job where they actually treat you as an employee. That shit is sick. It is quite literally damaging to us all because it's a fucking race to the bottom. But let's continue.
So here's my guess. We are not growing the economy. We are seeing the small number of very wealthy people begin to have an army of servants. That's where the work is growing. Here in New York City, where I live, we now pay people to do your shopping for you, lots of them, to walk your dog, to clean your house, to take care of your pets. I mean, it's extraordinary the number of jobs that really don't add to the wealth of our society. They're really in the form of personal service that very wealthy people can afford and that the rest of us are now forced more and more to go take. That might help explain why we have a lot of people working at awful jobs and we don't see the economy as a whole growing.
And it's the thing. And then what ends up happening is people see it as a fucking status symbol to say, oh, I can have somebody shot for me. And you're paying out your ass to get DoorDash delivered to you when you know you do DoorDash on the fucking weekends. But because somebody's going to be my fucking servant because I want to feel like I've arrived like the other motherfuckers that boss me around. Like, for real. It is no reason why we should have things like fucking DoorDash or Peapod or that other good shit in a sense where it's people feel like, oh, I've made it because I can actually have people shot for me. And to be honest with you, let's bring it back to presidential politics. Literally, these people who are rich enough to fucking make sure that they have all their fucking servant needs, it's like, it was a story recently where Mike Bloomberg literally had something like, well, you don't even need, like, and his literal quote was, you don't even need to find a babysitter, get some black that can barely speak English. All he needs to do is fucking make sure that you get, pull him from a burning business. That's the contempt these rich motherfuckers have for people that work for them. And then they try to filter it in like, you can be rich too by having your own fucking servant. No, fuck that. And fuck you. I'm sorry. I got upset again. I'm sorry. Here, let's continue.
I saw a statistic in the Financial Times over the weekend, and I'm doing this from memory, but I think I'm remembering it right. You're probably familiar with it. They said that 44, as I recall, 44% of the American workforce earns less than $18,000 a year. If that's the case, or if it's 40%, it's maybe. But if that's the case, then what you're suggesting, it sounds to me, could be redescribed as we are seeing unemployment go down because more and more people are taking jobs of desperation.
Absolutely.
And this is the fucking thing. This is why. This is one of the fucking main reasons why that we should actually have Medicare for all. Because motherfuckers don't have to rely on going through their shitty fucking job in order to get fucking health care. This is why we need more worker unionization. Because that way workers can fucking unite together in order to demand better treatment, better wages. But this whole minimum wage shit, this whole, we're just gonna actually pay you minimum wage, it is a fucking starvation wage. And by the way, people who like Mike Bloomberg, he literally fought and sued to make sure that the minimum wage wasn't increased for public sector workers because fuck you, I'm already rich. Let's continue.
Absolutely. There's no question that that's happening. The only question is that happening on a scale big enough to account for some of these big macro numbers that he's rightly pointing to about this contradiction between GDP growth on the one hand and low unemployment. It could be explained, we just don't know enough, but it could be explained by what we know is going on, namely this transition, which is upsetting so many Americans on the left, but also on the right. This reality that you keep hearing the unemployment is low, but your own circumstance is awful because, you have a job perhaps, but it pays poorly, it's insecure, you're constantly anxiety-ridden about this job, about the benefits being taken away from you, how in the world you're going to cope with your old age without a real pension. And now, since you're compensating by borrowing too much money, you have the added anxiety of imagining what will happen to you if your job is interrupted and you can't make the necessary payments. You're producing a society that is broken into the small minority that are super rich and a vast majority who, despite all of the verbiage, see their economic situation shrinking around them and become more and more upset, understandably.
So, and that's the thing, and not to make light of anybody's mental illness, but they wonder why so many people are riddled with anxiety. So many people are riddled with, stress. Why suicidality is actually as high as it is. Because people know they're getting screwed, and then they're being told that, it's your fault that you're fucked up. But don't pay attention to the system that's screwing you over. And then they make it your fault. And they say if you can't make it with unemployment this low, then maybe you should kill yourself. Or you get these people who are fucking mouthpieces. Yes, I just fucking named Destiny, who said that bullshit the other day. And it's just like, dude, you're a multi-million-dollar streamer and you never really had a good job in your fucking life. But I digress. But they want to make it where you're the problem versus the fact that people have set up the system to fuck people over. But let's continue.
So, wow, it's like the return of peonage. Two other quick questions. We just have 2.5 minutes here before we're going to hit a break. What's the impact of boomers aging out of the marketplace? And I guess the sub to that is, how many of them are not aging out of the marketplace? I'm over 65 and I'm still working. And secondly, if Trump starts pushing Powell to either hold or raise interest rates on the assumption that he's not going to be the new president, is it possible that he could provoke an economic crash that happens right after the election if we get a Democrat winning?
Well, let me answer both of them.
So, I I feel like I'm preempting his ass, and maybe I'm just coming at it a different way. But let's hear his thing, because I'm gonna actually talk about this when he finishes.
It might have been a different story if the elderly, the people reaching retirement age 65 and above, had behaved like previous generations and retired, at least in roughly comparable numbers. They can't do it. Part of the fact that Social Security is so inadequate to live on, part of the fact that so many people are carrying levels of debt that undermine whatever Social Security might have intended to do, they're not retiring. They're going back to work, even if they have to take the job as, Walmart greeter or something like that pays awfully. And, of course, the longer the older folks stay in the job market, the harder it is for the new young people coming in to find work,
exactly.
Which is exactly what then exacerbates low-wage jobs, because the new entrants are desperate and the old people are desperate, neither of them able to escape from this situation. And as to your other point, absolutely.
So let's actually just address that. The thing about it is, and this is what I don't get, I see a lot of people that you want to make it, young people? Bootstraps. There you go. Pick yourself up, you lazy bastards. Now, I see a lot of people who are like South Carolina. It was a lot of older population who voted for Biden, and they sit back and they say that young people just want shit for free. Motherfucker, you went to college for fucking $2,000 a year. We're doing college for 30 fucking fives. And shit, 20 years ago when I tried to, continue my college education, the shit was like, literally for the 6 semesters, it was 12 grand. But these motherfuckers want to sit back and knock young people, where young people, like literally, I worked 9 hours today. What I've been streaming for the last 2, and it took me an hour to set up and like make sure I eat. I am literally trying to work a second job in order to make sure I have enough fucking funds in order to, support myself. But you want to talk about young folks being lazy? Goddamn, boomers, fucking retire. And I'm not one of those motherfuckers who would actually say that no, they're just being lazy and selfish. But they can't retire because motherfuckers have actually forced a lot of boomers back into the fucking workforce because they can't survive off the shit. A lot of people, it was taking away pensions and it was dependent on Social Security. Now they're trying to fucking cut Social Security. Of course, like Vegeta said in the chat, we just want a fucking living wage, like our previous generations have had. But let's continue.
Absolutely. If Mr. Trump were to decide that he's losing, or even worse, if he decides, having won, if he does, that he can't run again, so he might as well do something different, you could see all kinds of shifts coming because of what this guy does and what the Republicans behind him are willing to do. But no matter what happens, the deluge is coming. It's like King Louis in France at the time of the French Revolution made that famous comment, after me comes the deluge. Yeah, Mr. Trump, if he were honest, would be telling us there is going to be a doozy when the next economic downturn comes. You put that together with these unparalleled levels of debt in our economy, and there is no limit to how bad this might get.
Well, he has come right out and said if a Democrat is elected president, there's going to be a huge economic crash. I think he might be planning on setting that up.
I wouldn't put it past him to try to set that shit up. They got rid of me, and so I'm gonna make sure that they fucking pay. Like, for real, how fucking petty is this motherfucker? I mean, I knew he was a failure, but I knew he was that petty anyway. Let's continue. It's almost over.
Yeah, you could see that a guy like that would be so wigged out by losing an election I mean, he lost the last one and literally had to pretend he didn't. So, yeah, who knows what he might do? But the sad reality is, even if he didn't, you've set up a situation of overused debt that could come back to haunt anybody who becomes the next leader.
All right, cool. So, guys, I want to say thank you for watching. I'm about to carry my ass to bed, after I go spend some time with myself while watching Pornhub and a bottle of lotion. But anyway, we need to actually, this is one of the most important things we need to do. We not only need to vote for the president, but we need to vote for our elected representatives as well. And with that being said, guys, tomorrow is Super Tuesday. I'm going to try to stream. I don't want to get another strike, so I'm not going to stream the actual, news coverage anywhere. But, yeah, Super Tuesday tomorrow. If you're in the Super Tuesday states, remember, go out there and vote for Sanders. Why? Don't vote for just him. Vote for us. And I'm going to actually go for the night. Thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of your night. And peace.